Yo, what is up, planet Earth? Andre here. Happy to be on with you guys. Shout out to Rock Church East County. Um, we are going live pretty much every day, trying to stay connected with everyone, trying to communicate what we feel like the Lord is saying. We're trying to see what God is saying to you. I'm going to take a moment and just welcome some of the people chiming in. We got Kelly Little. She got the first place award. She beat me. I couldn't even do the welcome before she was logged on. And welcome Marvin. We got Maritza. We got Gypsy and Patricia and Joanne. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. It's harder for me to read these names as I get a little bit older, but everybody can hear me, I think. So I think we're good to go. I'm really excited about tonight, about the topic of tonight. Let's see. Got some announcements to share. We want you guys to share share this with your friends. Maybe they'll be blessed by it. Um, we're really excited about the topic tonight. We're gonna dive into discipleship for the next 45 50 minutes. So share this page. Also want to just let you guys know that to like the page, and you can also follow us on Instagram at Rock Church East County. And this is not a replacement of our Sunday services. We also got our Sunday services online at 8 o'clock, 10, 12, and 6 p.m. And you can find that at at online.sdrock.com. Yeah, I just want to continue to welcome all the people chiming in. Who we got? We got Rika. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Share, invite. Yeah. We got Pastor Zebulon. Yeah. Overachiever. That's funny. Yeah. So thanks for chiming in, guys. Yeah, we'll get this thing started. Digging the new platform, I'm not gonna lie. Let me get an emoji hand clap if you're digging the new platform that we're on. Yeah. So yeah, our topic is gonna be on discipleship tonight. And our church does something called D groups, which is just basically our way of getting people plugged into discipleship. So I have some guests on tonight. I got some people that are actually a part of my D group. It's not my full D group, but I got a couple of the fellas, and I'm going to bring them on here in a second. Basically, the D group is an absolute must. The discipleship is an absolute must. We know that it's not our idea to come up with discipleship. Is Jesus' idea. So last probably a year and a half ago, I felt a real desire to want to just really pour into some fellas and really go deep. I personally believe that if you're going to church but you're not being discipled, you are very limiting your ability to grow in Jesus. I've seen it over and over again where people are serving and doing stuff, but they're really not plugged in, and they're just very easy targets of the enemy sometimes, and they just don't have that growth. They never really grow. They kind of plateau in their walk. So yeah, discipleship was one of the best decisions I've made for sure, and just I've grown from it as well. So without any further ado, I wanted to just welcome on some fellas here from my D group. Welcome Daryl and Brandon. What's up, fellas? Yeah. Yeah, these are two of the five people, I think. Yeah, let's see. I think we got about five people in our D group, and yeah, the church has been talking a lot about D group lately, and basically we didn't overcomplicate it. We try to meet weekly on Oh, we got another person from D group. Let's add them as well. Patrick, you there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, look at this, man. I got 3 out of 5 fellas on board. Patrick, you look like you're driving, bro.
I am. I'm in the car at the moment.
The whole world is watching you drive your car, man. So follow the rules. Do the appropriate social distancing and whatever whatever else you got to do.
I'm
Um,
only speeding a little bit. No, I'm
right.
kidding.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, we started this group just out of a desire to go deeper with our walk. And kind of the qualifications that we had for our D group is we didn't really want to go over 6 people because it didn't allow for you to kind of share everything that you wanted to talk about in the amount of time. We usually meet for a couple of hours. Um, we wanted to meet weekly because when you don't meet weekly, there's a lot of stuff that happens in a 7 day period. And one of the strategies that we had for our D group is something that I got off of Pastor Nemo. Pastor Nemo, I think he was doing with his G group. They just shared 3 topics. Um, when we come together, I don't have like a devo. I didn't need extra work to do to try to preach. I'm not trying to preach to these guys. We just cover 3 topics. That is, how is your time in the Word? How is your time in prayer? And how is your relationship life as it pertains to girlfriends or pursuing women or your marriage, because we have another married guy. And that's the only 3 things. Those 3 things will keep us busy talking for well over 2 hours if we allow it. And we kind of made it really clear what our group was not going to be as well. So what our group was not going to be was talking about like, hey, you need to not be looking at pornography. Hey, you need to not be, sleeping with your girlfriend. Like obvious sins. Like that's not what this group was for. This was for people that were already kind of taking their walk seriously, and just trying to dive a little bit deeper. But we didn't want to just go over things that you should not be doing, like just very obvious biblical things. Um, yeah, and then we just open up with prayer, and we ask the Holy Spirit um, to lead our conversation. So right now, I just wanted to open it up to any of the fellas if they want to share kind of anything like the D group has like you've seen in the D group or seen in your walk since we started D group. Maybe you do. Hey, Daryl.
I guess I'll start. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago at Mount Helix about the measurable things that we can measure, and you were touching on um, what are the measurable things, like what are the things that we've experienced throughout the. We've been like meeting for like what, over a year now. Yeah, it's been over a year, and within that year, what has been something that has drastically changed individually, like in our spiritual walk, in our relationships, and the way we um, read the word, and the way we just everyday living. And yeah, honestly, I've seen such growth in every person. It's not just like one person. And like, yeah, we have like different timelines of growing, but every within the past year, everyone's shared something that's been like a huge win for that specific person. So that's one of the things that I can share that I've experienced myself, and it's not just like my own, victories, but seeing like Brandon and Patty and Kenny, who's also part of this group, and Lee really grow more in like their relationship with Christ, and evidently see like what God is doing in their lives. So
For sure, that's good. Anybody else want to share?
I would say, man, like this group is just really, it's almost therapeutic in a way. It's really, it's just great being able to get together and t- like have a sense of like a bigger sense of community, to be able to share with each other, very deep and personal things that's like, it helps you, having this kind of group, it helps you feel like you're not alone in a lot of the things that you end up going through and a lot of the circumstances that you have, in your walk. And really to just ask, just three simple questions and go as deep and be as transparent as we have, seeing what it's done and seeing like how a lot of stuff that all of us have had just uprooted and turned around, and all of that has just been really incredible to see. And it's awesome. It's like a brotherhood. It's like it's family.
Yeah, for sure. Patty, you got to dive in now. They're going to make you look bad if you don't say something.
Well, yeah, the things that Brandon said was something that really resonated a lot with me as far as this group is having people to come to, having people who like cared about the deeper parts of what was going on in your life, especially right now. And that came to light right now real heavily when we were not allowed to be around anybody else. So just having other people, and I mean, even more so than just like being in each other's business, is just like seeing each other's walks. And it was just, I mean, in a world that kind of tells you that what we're doing as Christians is dumb, like to have that group of guys who are going to gas you up in the right way is like so much better. But even more so than just like having someone tell you that, to be a better Christian, it's like seeing other people's walks progress is just encouraging and inspiring to make you want to do your, make your walk progress. So if while you'd be doing this on your own, it's kind of like you don't have a good way in which to, I guess you could say, measure. And I don't want to say like we compare ourselves to each other, but to see somebody's walk progress and see the potential and the kind of like what and how a walk can progress, it's kind of like encouraging to go the extra mile to kind of get a visual of what it could be. So kind of just expanding your view of what your walk could be or how much more your walk could be, as opposed to just kind of being on your own trying to do all the things right, but kind of like having kind of like a boundary on what your mind can comprehend about what a walk can be, and to see how God works in other people's lives kind of widens your perspective on what is possible in your own walk. And so that was another invaluable portion of that for me.
Yeah, man, it's been super good. Just connecting with everybody, and I love something that Daryl brought up. He talked about measurables, and we totally talked about that. So kind of just to give everybody like a picture of like what we started is we kind of it's hard to force relationships, right? So a lot of times you can say, you need to do this and you need to be with these people, but it's like if you don't have chemistry, so you really got to ask the Lord, like, hey, God, who do I need to be, walking and doing life with, right? So I felt like the Lord put a few people on my hearts, and these guys were in that group, and kind of, asked them like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? But when we finally got together, I remember we met together, and it was like, here's the first thing, like we're gonna talk about these three topics. How's your time in the Word? How's your time in prayer? And how's your relational world, right? And since we meet every week, we're able to see like if someone is like going multiple weeks and it's like, I wasn't really in my Word, or man, haven't really been praying. Like we would jam each other up, like, hey man, like what's going on with that? Like how can we, and then we would give strategy and things on how we fight through certain struggles, even just in the simple things like that. But when we got in the room together, it was also, we talked about another thing too. So we talked about what we weren't going to be, which is we weren't going to be talking about obvious sin. Like, you're not supposed to be doing certain things. That's not what this group is going to be, to grow deeper. But a lot of times in order to do that, you need to experience some healing. So after the first meeting we gathered together and we're like, hey, pray about whether you really want to be in this group or not, because we're going to be going deep and we're going to be like figuring it out. Right. But the next time we met, we did what's called a freedom checklist, essentially, where it identifies like some potential blind spots in your life. And maybe we'll share that link at another time, because it's good to have, because it's like a paper that you just fill out of like different issues that you might not be thinking about. Definition of a blind spot, right? And we shared that the things that we checked off on there, if we felt comfortable to, right? And then that was also a way of us measuring, because we kind of committed to like, hey, we're going to do this, and in another 4 months we're going to go through this checklist again. And then as we did, you'll see certain things remove off that list, and that's an actual measurable of you experiencing some growth in God. And another thing that kind of tied on with that is the healing rooms that we had going on. And I know I like to make I like to make a habit of trying to visit there at least quarterly, just to check in and you just receive an encouraging word, or just have someone pray for you. And I know some of the fellas in the D group have done that as well. They've went to our healing room ministry, and that still exists in this COVID season of shelter in place, where you can actually, you see the link there. I'll leave that up for a little bit. But it's like, hey, we have an understanding that if you got these spiritual issues in your life, it's going to be hard for you to move forward until you deal with those issues. So this was also a group where we were able to be open with that kind of thing too, which I thought was really huge. Anybody have any comments on that aspect of it?
Yeah. The I've gone to the freedom rooms several times. Like, they're very. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it other than you get a lot of freedom going there. You meet with people that are handpicked to pray for you, that are all very compassionate, and I mean, all of us in our walk have. I mean, I would guess probably accurately something deeply personal that is really, that would probably be important to bring to some prayer warriors, and in doing that you get a lot of freedom from it, and it just it sets you free from quite a bit. It's and that has been something that's been really that has had a pretty big impact on this group, I would say, as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's been really good. So yeah, appreciate you sharing, Brandon. Some of the other things that I felt kind of that I personally grew from too in this group is when we're constantly meeting, I felt like there was like a lot of sharing of resources. Like, we would come across like either something we read or something that a video we sent, and there's been a lot of shared. Does anybody want to kind of speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's like that Devo, my utmost for his highest. That's like one of the things that I was already reading that a couple of years ago, and then Andre started sharing that in the group, and I was just like, wait, like I've been reading that too for like the past like a year or so, and it's it's a really good resource of going real deep when it comes to certain scriptures, in regards to like devotion, everyday devotion and stuff like that. So aside from just reading your reading your daily Bible verses or chapters or whatnot, there's a lot of resources that a lot of people in the group were able to input and share with regards to just going far and beyond just reading like a chapter a day or something. You could keep reading, for like another hour or so with the resources that um, people have shared within the group.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, lost Patty there. Sorry, there he is.
Sorry, I was swapping devices.
You're so techie. Yeah. Anybody else have something on just the sharing? I feel like Kenny. He's not in this group as right now, but on this feed, but he's usually good for some some material for sure. Yeah. A lot of video sharing. I would say, Daryl, you're right, man. That if you guys don't know, My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers, it's a daily devotional. Like, you need to figure it out and go get that. I don't know how the Lord it's crazy how the Lord uses that devotional. I'm not normally a huge devotional guy, but that thing is awesome. Another thing a few of us kind of jumped into was Dan Mohler's 51 Day School. Some of us have dived pretty good into that, and those are probably like the two that are highlighted in my mind. But just a side note, I also have a YouTube page that I've created. You can just search my name or whatever, Andre Hudson, and you can find resources to these kind of topics. But for sure, we connect on a weekly basis and we talk about our 3 topics. But I would say during the week, we're also growing. We're continuing to feed ourselves and learn how to feed ourselves by, reading the Word, watching Sunday services, and then maybe watching other videos, reading devotionals, and just trying to stay fed and stay active. So that's been really good. Just want to welcome Elizabeth. Good to see you. Rhonda, welcome. Mikey. We got Tamika. What's up, sis? How you doing? It's good to see you. Got Irene and Patricia. Welcome, everybody. We're just if you're just chiming in, we're talking about discipleship. This is my D group. That's just the Rock Church's fancy name for discipleship. And this is most of the crew right here. And we're kind of just sharing our experiences, our time, where we've seen growth. The really cool thing too is when I started this group, I was kind of like in a real bad season of life. Just there was a lot of things going on, and I was really leaning on these guys. A lot of times, being a pastor and stuff, that you would assume like, oh, the pastor's in there, he's probably just preaching, he's practicing his messages on the guys. That's not what it was. That was definitely like a season where these guys were really speaking into my life. And before we transition, man, I just want to say, man, it's really been amazing to see the complete life change that's happening in you guys. And sometimes it's easier to see it in someone else before you can see it in yourself, and I think that it's really encouraging to know that when we're getting together, you're actually seeing God move in your life, and it's encouraging to the other person as you kind of just share testimonies throughout the week. And you also find out how much God is moving in a week, because you're just hearing, you're seeing prayers answered. I know, actually, Patrick, why don't you speak into that? Because Patrick, you've been a real champion of like writing down prayers and kind of reminding us that God is actually answering them.
Yeah, I kind of started, I actually kind of got the idea from Joshua, where like we hung out once and he brought this little like notebook and he just was taking notes of our conversation. It was like, what are you doing? He's like, you never know when you're going to get some insight from somebody. And so I kind of took that and I started doing that. And I always brought that to D group. or anytime, kind of like I bring it when I go to hang out with my accountability too. I don't mean to get off topic though. But what I started doing in the back of it was kind of writing everyone's prayer request, because I'm very liable for it to just fall out my brain otherwise. So I would just, keep a log of it, and then it would keep us on, kind of keep me on track to kind of check in with the guys and go, hey, there was this thing that you talked about last week, like, what happened? Is there progress? Was there no progress? Was it answered prayer? And honestly, a lot of times, like, because I guess, sometimes we get like minor issues and we just kind of forget about them. They kind of like, oh, God solved it. Okay, like move on to the next thing. So it's kind of a cool tool to say, oh yeah, like that did happen over the course of this last week, and answered prayer was. It's easy to to forget about answered prayer. Like, kind of takes away part of the effect of realizing that prayer got answered, and in a positive way, and so it kind of kept us on, keeping us remembering that, but also kept us on to remember things that hadn't been answered yet or hadn't been resolved. So that was a cool way to just kind of keep up with the guys.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, man. That's totally true. You've definitely been the referee in that space, to not let us like, hey, wait a minute. God answered this prayer. Are we gonna celebrate that and make sure that it doesn't become like a complaining session? That is not what our group is for, is to sit here and whine and talk about how bad things are. Brando, I just realized that Rock Church East County is blocking the heck out of your face right now. Just lean over to the side a little bit. No, it's all good, man. My bad. We branded you.
Good. Yeah, it's all good, man. I think that's something. It's another reason that it was really important to meet every week too, is because, and I know this happens to so many people too. Like you'll pray, God will answer something in your life, and a lot of the time, you could end up forgetting about it, or you could end up not paying attention to it, or just not being, too grateful. And like meeting every week, we kept track of, almost everything that had happened to us. And it's like, in doing that, it's like that repetition of seeing what God has been doing, every week. It's like, it just keeps you from getting distracted, keeps you grounded. And it really just shows you how forgetful you can be if you're not, diving into prayer and discipleship on like a weekly basis.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I got you blocked again. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely encouraging to see that God is active in our lives. And I feel like as we're bouncing our testimonies and our strategies off of one another, it's like we grew in those testimonies as well. Like I would, like Brandon would get a word for Daryl, and Daryl would have like a strategy for Kenny, and it's just like a lot of fluidity in the spirit, of just growing in God in it. And man, you just gotta love it when God is tangible and you're seeing Him move. You're not just talking about it or reading about it, but you're actually experiencing it. And if anybody if the Holy Spirit puts any like testimony of like just something that has happened, go ahead, feel free to share it. Go ahead, Patrick.
Just to touch on what you were just saying about like having words for each other, there was that one time, and I kind of wish we'd have done it more, where we each like linked up with one other guy to like to just like intervene for him on like to get a sign, to get a word, to get a something, and like we came back and we just had. It was kind of one of those, like, I remember I had a word for Brandon, and it was like, I got this vision, I had no idea how to interpret it, what it meant, and so I just went, well, here's what it is, kind of thinking, well, a shot in the dark. And it was just like, once it started getting interpreted and asking questions and digging into what it really meant, like it meant something. And like, it was really cool. Something else that you just like, is not going to happen by yourself or with somebody that you're, superficially in relationship with. But like when you dig in deep and you can get into that, and you have people who have the resources and know how to get into that, it's like, it was super cool. You guys remember that?
Yeah, dude, for sure, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, because I would have known that was one of those things that I just like, I wouldn't have known to do on my own, or wouldn't have known what it meant on my own, or how to go about it, or how to interpret it, or even to have like the courage to come forward with something like that just seems like nonsense, but really actually does mean something.
Yeah.
Right. And I think all of us, it wasn't just one-sided. I think all of us at some point had something to teach somebody else, and at some point had something to learn from somebody else. Like it really, it was just really circular, you know. Somebody wouldn't understand something, and then it would be explained, and then somebody wouldn't understand something else, and that would be explained by somebody who didn't, you know, quite understand something else, you know. And it was just really cool how we all, like, all of our strengths kind of played into one another, really.
For sure. Hey, for everybody that's logging on right now or just chiming in, we're talking about discipleship. This is my D group here. There's also believers and pastors on the feed. So if you have prayer requests that you feel comfortable sharing, you can share it there as well, and we'll answer those prayers. And also, if you have any questions just about D groups, go ahead and share it there, and we'll address those as well as we can. Kind of as we transition into this next time period, I kind of wanted to talk about just one more thing too, of how important it was for it to just be fellas in the group. This wasn't a group that was like you know, ladies and guys. You have to be guys with guys and girls with girls, because it allows you to be open and share certain things. So that was one of the stipulations as well, that I think was pretty smart, but pretty needed for sure. But I think what we can do, if, like I said, if you guys have anything else that you want to share, go ahead and jump in, or if the Lord's put something on your heart. But I think what would be kind of cool for our last bit of time before we open it up for questions is just kind of model what it looks like when we get together. So I don't think we have time for us to go through all three of the topics. The three topics are: how's your time in the Word, how's your time in prayer, and how's your relational world. But maybe just pick one or two of them, and we'll kind of just go around and show everybody what that looks like. And we probably won't go as personal as maybe we could when it's not the world watching and listening to us. But Patrick, you want to kick us off, man?
Sure. I think I can hit all three pretty quick. Time in the Word and prayer. I've been kind of moving around a lot, and just kind of, between moving around a lot and just like being basically solitary, it kind of fell a little bit by the wayside. And I'll be honest, it was kind of one of those, like, when I had the group kind of in mind or in view again, it was like, oh shoot, like, not because of the group, but it's just a reminder that I gotta snap back into it. Like, I want to keep on par with how these guys are moving and where they're going, and what their pace is in their relationship. So it was like, okay, no, it's like things have to start moving aside, or it becomes more of a priority to move things aside to get back into the Word and get into prayer. So it wasn't as there wasn't quite as much time spent as I normally would like to, but I got like dug back into the Word in a kind of a deep way that I like to. Same thing with prayer, and it's kind of amazing how God just drops. You know, you kind of open the Word and just go, well, let's just shoot for something. And he just hits right where you need it to, or something pertinent to today. So that was good. It was encouraging to kind of like take a deep breath and be like, oh, like kind of like a nice, fresh, cool glass of water. It was like, yeah, I really did need this. I was thirsty. So I'm excited on keeping that up for the next week, or, you know, longer. Relationships was another one where it's just like, it's easy to get frustrated with people in this day and age, especially when there's, there's a lot of adversity going on. It's easy to get caught up in that and want to kind of like grit your teeth and just like be angry at people. But it's like, we're not called to be angry at other people. We're not called to like condemn people for having different views. I mean, we're here to learn from each other and to kind of like in dialogue with each other. And so it's like, and sometimes those relationships, and what I've learned recently, getting off of romantic type of relationships, but even relationship with family, where it's just like, sometimes it's not about how I feel about things. It's about what I can do for them to help them in their walk, or help them come back to Christ, or have an example of what Christ is, even when it doesn't feel good, or when it's really hard to do so. Because as far as to flip the script, as far as romantically, there's not a ton going on at the moment. It's tough in a COVID environment, but there you go.
He's single, ladies. He's single, ladies.
I knew you were gonna do that.
Yeah, I even wrote it down to make sure that I did it. So actually, all these gents are single, but I'll save that for later. I'll put like a big old banner. No, I'm just kidding. Daryl, you want to go next, brother?
There's actually a question
Okay.
by Priscilla. I don't know if we can answer that.
Okay. How do we actually go about starting a D group if we already have participants? I think you can go onto the website that was posted. I'll post that again, and you just log it as a group. Maybe one of the pastors on the line on the feed can jump in there and answer that question as well. Go ahead, Daryl. You wanna dive into one or all?
Yeah. So just hitting those 3 points real quick. Time in the Word and prayer has been working hand in hand. So I'm not gonna say like when it's bad and both prayer is bad, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is they work hand in hand. So my time in the Word has been decent. I've been going back to the Book of Psalms, and I think that just includes like my time in worship. I think for the past couple, at least for this week, I could share this week is that I've gone. I've been pressing harder into like worship songs and just getting back. Like last week at Mount Helix was phenomenal. Just being able to worship with my fellow servants in East County, where we're just able to worship God together physically, and yeah, it was it was a good time, and that kind of sparked the following days where up until today, where I just kind of like went deeper into my time of worship, and so I've been tying that with my time in the Word and then my prayer time as well, where kind of like piggybacking off what Patrick said, with what's going on in the world today and in this country, that's like one of the things I've been praying about like real hard, is not just for like what's going on, but with how I react to people and how I can still be able to show God's love to the people around me, even if I don't agree with their point of views or whatever. And going into relationships that's one of the things that has been highlighted for this week, are those people that I don't really agree with when it comes to like views and like what's going on today and stuff like that. But really, God's showing me how I should be relating to these people, because some of them are still my friends, and every time like I get flustered for like what's going on and things are going on around, uh, there's always God's voice, the Holy Spirit just keeps me in check and like, hey, like check yourself, check your heart and what's going on in your reactions, and kind of reminds me that I should always be displaying Christ-like love to people around me. So that's it.
Beautiful. It's amazing. Go ahead, Brando.
So time in the Word's been pretty good. I have a lot of spare time given the coronavirus, COVID-19 and everything. Getting fairly deep in the Book of Psalms, it's always really reassuring, reading that book. Prayer life has been pretty awesome as well. I really like to take like on average like an hour a day and really just sit and get alone with God and meditate. Like I'll focus on my breathing for a little bit, and then I'll pray. And basically, a lot of the time, especially this past week, has just been focusing on just trying to listen to God. And He's really just, putting like without going into too much detail, like just trusting him, a lot of trust with a lot of stuff that's coming up in my life personally. And as far as relationships go, I know we'll talk about like romantic relationships and stuff together, but I mean, we'll also talk about like just how it's going with your friends, how it's going with your family, how it's going with people at work, Personally, that's been really back and forth these past couple of weeks. It was awesome, seeing you guys last Wednesday, worshiping on Mount Helix with you guys last Wednesday. Managed to get over to Mount Helix yesterday too, to worship and hang out with some people over there. And let's see. And just to kind of piggyback off of what Darrow was saying, I think that there's a lot of situations where in our relationships with other people, without having this group, it would be, we might not have as many strategies or just guidance from God and how to go about the way that we handle our relationships with other people. And I think it's safe to say that all of us have really, as far as like, reflecting God out of ourselves to other people and going to this group, that's something that's been really, improved in all of us. So yeah, that's my answer to those 3 questions.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, bro. Yeah, so just want to say what's up to Paula and Essay. Colette, what's going on, guys? Thanks for joining in. P. Zeb. Yeah. Mirna, welcome, everybody. We're just wrapping up our time here. We've got another 10 minutes or so. If you're just joining in, we're talking about discipleship. This is my D group, at least most of my D group that were able to make it tonight. And kind of just sharing our strategy that we kind of inherited from Pastor Nemo. 3 topics when we meet together. How's your time in the Word? How's your time in prayer? And how is your relational life? And those 3 topics, you can find out how that's like the litmus test of your spiritual walk, right? And it's very easy to see how you're actually doing. Another thing that I want to kind of communicate of the need for discipleship is I feel like there's a lot of hiding that happens in church where people just come and I don't know what they're doing there, but there's like real issues and you can hide. It's very easy. We see that in our communities that we serve in, and so the discipleship group is a way to kind of remove the hiding, and when you're done hiding, there's actually a potential for growth. So that's what we've been doing. We've been diving deep in that. So to jump into my 3 topics, let's see. Relational life, I'll start there. Is going really good with the wife, with my marriage. We did an impromptu kind of getaway. I got up in the morning. I got in the Word. I was reading. It was on Saturday. I really miss connecting with my church family on Sundays. That's just like, I don't know when's the last time it's been decades since I haven't done that. But one of the nice things about not doing that is it gives me time in observing the Sabbath with my family. So our family actually observes the Sabbath on Saturday. And so this Saturday I got up and I was in the Word, and I kind of was just reading Psalms, and I realized that a part of the Sabbath is you should kind of just take in God's creation. But man, those of you guys that are joining in from around the world, depends on where you're at, depending on how sorry you feel for us. But it's been hot. It's been super hot out here in San Diego. So I'm like, God, how are you going to observe your creation when it's all on fire? But what we ended up doing is we jumped in the car, we drove up the coastline, and we ended up staying in Anaheim for the night. So relational life is great. Me and my wife are doing really good. And the kids are doing great. We're all adjusting to the online school situation, And if I'm being honest, man, I like it. I like it all. I like being around my family. I like just having no commute. I'm not really big on traffic. I don't think really anybody is. So those aspects has been really good. But one of the cool things that happened with my wife is we saw a lady get healed. Some of you guys might have seen a post that I put, but my wife, was able to be used by Jesus to heal this lady's back pain. She had been suffering from back pain from like 6 years, and her legs weren't the same size. And I've seen people's legs grow out before, but this lady was like a good inch and a half off. So, in a matter of seconds, you saw her line up, and then her back pain just left after 6 years of pain. So, it's power in Jesus' name. And on that note, while I'm sharing testimony, and maybe your faith is rising up, if you need prayer for something right now, we want to pray for you guys. But that's my wife. She's amazing, and we're doing good. Time in the Word has been really solid as well. I stay on my utmost for His highest. That's standard. But as far as other reading, I usually ask the Lord what psalm I'm supposed to be reading, and then I'm in the book of Ezekiel right now as well. So that's been really good. But and then time in prayer, I usually combine that with just hearing and conversating with God. And so last night, actually, man, the Lord gave me a word for the worship team. There was a team I was with earlier today, just on process. So I've been noticing as I'm walking around in ministry and just in life in general, if you look at people's eyes and you look with discernment, you'll really see that what's really going on. And what I kind of seen in people is that there was like a depth to their scenario, even though they weren't communicating it, and people were in process. So the Lord gave me a word about how character is developed in the valleys of your life, in the valleys of process, right? And a lot of times, being a person that I want people to feel comfortable. I want them to feel good. I like when people come over to the house or whatever, I want them to be comfortable. I'm like serving, and it's like, it's really draining and taxing, but I really want people to be comfortable. And I feel like what the Lord was showing me was that you shouldn't try to remove people out of the valley, out of the process that they're in, because in that space is where a lot of your godly character gets developed. And I was kind of just reminded that if there's anything about my character that you like, or whatever that the Lord has done through me, it probably was formed in a valley somewhere, in a process. So kind of had that word. So that's kind of like my time in the Word, time with the Lord. Maybe that's a word for you listeners out there right now. Yeah, and so everything's all good. God's always speaking, so I'm just trying to watch and pay attention. These guys know my dream life has been just out of control for like over a year now, and I've been writing my dreams down. The Lord shares with me in dreams things from other people's lives, or He'll tell me what I'm getting ready to walk into. He'll tell me when someone is transitioning in their job, or just like all different kinds of things. So I think we got a little bit of time. You guys got room for one more testimony? We're gonna welcome Paula, man. That girl, that's my sister right there. SA, come on, Samoan Nation is represented. Kelly's here. Ron, welcome. So anyways, I had a dream tonight. I had a dream basically that was what was called a timeline dream. And basically, I won't share all of it, but what I will share is God showed me that I was going to be running into, or I had a dream where I was running into people that I used to play basketball with back in college. This is like over 10 years ago. And then later in the dream, my wife was being greeted by employees that she used to work with, and then some other stuff happened in the dream. And so when I took the impromptu getaway last Saturday to Anaheim, I just randomly decided to pull off and let the kids go swimming in the ocean because it was hot. So I just pulled off somewhere in Carlsbad. And so I drive all the way down the beach. It's a Saturday on the beach, and it's like right when I pull up to the coast, like there's a parking spot waiting for me. I'm like, favor swish, right? So we go down to the beach and we're hanging out. And I look to my left, and about 20 yards away is this guy that I used to hang out with. Like, he was a good friend of mine that I haven't seen in years, from my college days. We had a short period of time at City College playing basketball. And so that was cool. I found out he had some stuff going on, was able to pray for him, catch up with him. He had since had a son. It was just really cool. And then we made our way up to Anaheim to stay at a place up there. And when we go in, one of the workers recognizes Rachel, and there's like multiple workers, and we don't live in Anaheim, right? We don't have nothing to do with Anaheim. And she saw two people that she knew, and it reminded me of a timeline dream. Like, hey, when these things happen, then this is going to happen. And I'm not really going to share too much in depth, but that's just a recent example of how God uses dreams. So what I can communicate, I'm rabbit trailing a little bit, but what I was saying this season, pay attention to what God's speaking to in your dream life. Pay attention to when he's waking you up in that 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the middle of the night and you're just wide awake for some reason. That is the time to pray, specifically intercession for your spouse if you're married, and for your relatives that do not know the Lord. Pay attention to your dreams. God speaks in many different ways. So just to kind of wrap up our time, we're talking about D groups and the importance of them, keeping it real, not hiding, going deep with the Lord, showing measurables to our growth in the Lord, all that kind of stuff. This is my D group. We're missing a couple of folks, but I'm super stoked to have these guys tonight. We're modeling something that I learned from Pastor Nemo. What is your prayer life like? What is your time in the Word like? And what is your relational world looking like? And so we've had a lot of good little nuggets and sharing. And let's do a little time. Let's see if anybody's asking any questions. Yeah, we got some dreams. Yeah, visions too. All the good stuff. All the good stuff of God. You know what? If you walking around in your Christian walk doing stuff that you already know how to do, that's just boring, man. I gotta have some activity, man. So being in D group is a good way to share those experiences. Fellas,
Can I share one thing real quick?
yes, I was gonna say final thoughts. Why don't you kick us off, Daryl? Final thought.
I feel like I needed to share this with everyone that's like on the live right now. I see like a lot of comments and kind of like questions regarding D groups and stuff. And this is just, I'm gonna read it off Matthew 28:16-20. And it says, "Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.'" And I felt like just that scripture, that's a great commission. It's not the great suggestion, as someone said that somewhere. And that's one of the things that Jesus left his disciples, not church members or church goers or ministry helpers or whatever. It was his commission to his disciples. And he commissioned them to go and make disciples. And I think this is like so important to the church as a whole, not just the Rock Church, but the church as a whole, like around the world. Without discipleship, without a group where you can really go in deeper, not just on a Sunday, but on a day-to-day basis, is very important, because that's where it's at. Like without discipleship, we might as well just go to church and live our life the rest of the days after church. Discipleship is really where I have personally experienced growth in my spiritual life, where I've received help with things that I do not understand and struggle with. Like I wish I could share every bit of it. Like a lot of it is really personal, but a lot of these guys know what I've been through. I also know a lot of stories of what some of these guys have been through. Without this group, I don't know. I don't know.
Praise the Lord. Hey, Patrick, why don't you jump in? Final thoughts.
Finally, I was actually just thinking about that. What this group also kind of has facilitated is just like closer relationships with guys who I wouldn't not necessarily have as close a relationship with. So it's like Daryl and I'll go out and like grab food here and there, and like next thing we know, hours have gone by, and we're just like digging into like what's going on in each other's lives and how we can speak into it. Just like few weeks down the road, like checking in with each other and just like keeping up with what's going on. And I mean, we do that a lot. I mean, we do that in the group itself, but like to get real deep one-on-one is something that this kind of facilitates as well. And so it's just like a really close group that you can trust, and you get some really like awesome relationships, and not just like churchy relationships, but like these are guys who I enjoy spending time with. I mean, whether we're getting into it or whether we're just like enjoying each other's company, because we've done all of that too. And just like getting together at Andre's house or coming over to my place and just like sharing a bite and just like, yeah, being able to, get into it with each other is just, it was amazing. Because once, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when this thing first hit and I was confined to my place without being able to see anybody or kind of do anything that I really enjoyed doing, it was just like, this was the thing that kind of helped keep me afloat. I mean, I know like my relationship with Christ is good, but like having these guys to kind of like hook arms with and keep going was absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. But the relationships that have come out of it, I mean, even more so, have just been phenomenal.
Amen. Amen. We've been meeting in public a lot too, man. We probably meet in public more than we do in anybody's house. And that was pretty intentional as well. Yeah. Brando, final thoughts, brother.
Final thoughts. I think that whatever whatever you put in your head throughout the week, whatever you watch, whatever you do, is what's going to end up coming out, right? And having this group on a weekly basis makes everybody, hold each other accountable. That on a daily basis, that we're in the Word, that we're praying, that we're practicing what we preach, that we're not just showing up to church on Sundays and then doing whatever it is, that we do on the side. And when you hold each other accountable the way that we do, and when you meet every week and you really dive deep and you fill your thoughts with God, and you fill, you just fill, you feed your soul, you feed your spirit. It really, it really changes a lot about you. And it doesn't, it doesn't get rid of like all of your circumstances or anything by any means, but like I think the main thing that's really held us together, aside from the community that we have with each other, is that we've really learned how to deal with a lot of the circumstances that have come our way in the past year and a half that we've been doing this. And meeting every week has really given us, like, doing it so consistently has just been so important in making that happen. And I don't know, I guess it'd just be, this is something that really should be done with everybody, especially anybody that's a believer, especially right now. I think this is something that's very, having this kind of community is really crucial, and it'll change you, and you'll notice some of it, and other people will, some things you won't notice and other people will point out.
Yeah. That's great, man. Hey, I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Thank you for just sharing in time. It's just good to kind of just reflect. I'm glad this is something we have figured out pre-shelter in place. I don't know what people are doing without groups and out church buildings and all these other things, but It's never too late. So I just pray everybody was blessed tonight by my D group. And I'll leave you with this. In John 8:31, it says, "To the Jews who had believed in him, Jesus said, 'If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples.'" And one of the main things that I'm proud about this group is I never wanted to make a disciple of myself or a disciple of something else. I wanted us to be disciples of Jesus. Like we want to believe in the things that Jesus believed in and operate in the things that Jesus operated in, and not some kind of thought of our own of what the group should be like. And so I'm proud of these fellas for really pressing in. And so I pray that you guys were blessed tonight. We talked about a lot of things. We shared some scriptures. We shared some strategies. Again, we have the healing ministry. That was one of the big things that we started off with. And I just hope that you guys are blessed tonight. We're going to wrap up our time. Brando, why don't you pray us out, man, and then we'll clock out of this thing.
Sure. Lord, thank you for this time together. Thank you that we get to meet via technology and talk about you and praise you and learn about how to walk with you. Thank you that we have the opportunity to learn from one another and teach one another about you and how to be more like you. And we thank you for the fruit that you're going to bear from this meeting tonight. And thank you for blessing and encouraging all these people listening in. And thank you for everything that you've been doing in our lives and what you've been teaching us. And thank you for everything that you're going to continue to give to us in this next season of our lives.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. Be blessed. Rock Church family and the world listening and watching, you guys be blessed. We'll continue to keep you in prayer, and we will have, let's say, Saturday morning feed. We'll be back on again, I believe, at 9 a.m. So you fellas, I'll see you next Wednesday. All right, guys.
Yep.
Take care. Love y'all.
God bless y'all.
Later.